It's like if you got a divorce with your wife and then your brother married her. It's like, yeah, there might be some.
That would be the most
involved.
disgusting thing my brother could do. It would be considered treachery. How dare you go and then marry my ex-wife?
Islam commands us to do good and forbid evil, to pray.
You want to talk about that?
So
you want to talk about moral teaching of the Quran? Is that what you want to talk about now? We can do that. Because you're saying it commands to do good. We can talk about that.
You're the one who's bringing up the points, and I'm the one who's here to refute. So what are you? Okay,
so now you said Islam. Okay, you said Islam teaches good. Okay, so let's talk about morality of Islam, because you follow Quran and Sunnah. Your prophet at one time, I'm not saying now, you're Sunni, so I know you don't do it now, but at one time your prophet accepted zawj al-mut'ah. Mut'ah, right?
Yeah.
You're okay with that? Him doing mut'ah?
At the time it was accepted.
So now be honest with me, as a man who has respect, you have ghira, you have honor. How would you feel if you lived at that time? So understand what I'm saying. How would you feel if you lived at that time and one of the Muslims said, I want to marry your sister for 3 days, and then when I'm done, I'll divorce her and give her money? You honestly would be okay with that?
I don't believe that it was done in that context. I believe it was more of, when they were away from their wives.
Oh, so it's okay? They're away? So, okay, a Muslim from California is away from his wife, and you're living in Chicago, and he says, Ya akhi, I'm going to marry your sister for 3 days and give her money when I'm done because my wife is in California. Are you okay with that?
Well, at the end of the day, you have to consider it like this. Do you want to have unlawful sexual relations in the eyes of Allah? Or do you actually want to, if the Prophet said something and he's the highest moral authority. So if he permitted something at a certain time under certain circumstances, or it's not for us to really question that. We just follow him exactly as he says, and we obey him. So
you really think a God Almighty, who's all powerful, would legalize?
Hey, I'm giving it to you straight. Am I beating around the bush?
No, you're honest. Okay. All right. Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay, then you're saying if it's from Allah, okay, that's fine. Well, all right, then you can see why non-Muslims have a problem with it. But okay, now that you said, well, if it's from Allah, all right, fine. Okay, that's fine. Let me ask you this then. In chapter 4, verse 24 of the Quran.
I don't have an issue with it, but it's not something that at the time, so a lot of things about the Quran is it's descriptive. So there are certain things that you guys like to point to, and if I come with Numbers 31, you're going to, it's that time. It's Moses had to do this.
No, that's not my answer. I wouldn't answer that way. I wouldn't answer that way, but that's okay. I wouldn't answer that. I can answer that very easily. I will, but that's not how we answer Numbers 31. But coming to this issue, Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 24, that you said, okay, Allah permitted it at that time, and that was legal, and I have no problem with it. But now the Shia, who say that their hadith still allows mut'ah, it's not been abrogated. Do you then tell them, then you guys are committing zina because you're committing prostitution and trying to excuse it? Would you accuse them of committing zina?
Yeah, because it was said that after, so it was allowed for a certain period of time. Like when the Muslims, they went on expeditions and they were away from their wives, they were allowed to do it, but they could do it. They didn't have any wives at that time, and it was a different time and stuff like that.
Okay, so the Shia doing it today.
They needed to give a mahr, give a gift, give a dowry to marry a woman, and they could enjoy her in a marital way. And
you consider that marriage?
After some time, the marriage would be dissolved.
Okay, brother in humanity. Be honest.
Right now, we don't permit that, and the Prophet didn't permit it when when the Muslims returned home and they're living amongst their community. for them to just do it, with each other's daughters and stuff as a form of no. Marriage, of course, is meant to be a long-term thing.
Say it again. And marriage is meant to be what? Marriage is meant to be what?
I said by and large,
it should be a long-term thing.
It's meant to be a long-term thing.
Okay.
Now there are certain circumstances that may warrant that, but the way we have it now, it's not permitted.
Okay. Let me just repeat what you said. Marriage is meant to be for a long term. Even though I may marry someone that I want to stay with, things happen, we get divorced. But my intention wasn't to marry her and divorce her. So you agree. But you're saying because Muhammad, under the orders of your God, because you believe Allah spoke to your prophet, when your prophet said, you can marry them short term, and you can tell a woman, look, I'm just going to marry you for 3 days and pay you money. That was legal marriage, even though the intention was to be married for a short term. And you really call that marital? You really call that a marriage?
Well, what you got to understand, they were doing Allah's will at the time.
Allah's will, okay.
So they were out preaching Islam and, assisting in the expansion of Islam. And so they did not have their wives with them. So it was permitted for them to temporarily marry the women who were available to them. And but after a while, this practice was forbidden.
And so now when the Shia do it, it's zinna, it is wicked, it's haram, it's immoral. Now if they do that, right?
Correct. And they reject our hadith.
Yes, right.
And they curse a lot of the
companions. Yep.
And so they have become misguided in a lot of ways, and I can't speak for them.
Sure, no, put them aside. But I just want to make sure we get this correct. Now, when the Shia do it, it's zinna, it's sexual immorality, it's even adultery. We'd even call it prostitution. But for some reason, when your prophet allowed it to be done, because he allowed it, then it's no longer prostitution, it's no longer adultery, it's no longer sexual morality. So what changed?
What changed is the circumstances.
Oh, so when Muhammad decides, if the circumstances are right, then it's no longer zinna. Okay.
So there are certain circumstances which may warrant that, like in maybe like a wartime or, something like that where it's of dire need. But the way we're living now, it's not as if we need to have temporary marriages.
Right,
it's not something that we should practice. But marriage should be more long term.
Should be, yeah.
As the way we do.
Okay, all right. Now another question then, because you said Islam teaches good and so on. All right. In 424 of the Quran, Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 24, it says, unlawful for Muslims are married women except those whom your right hands possess. So I can go to the Hadith, Sahih Muslim, Sunan Abu Dawood, but I think that this is referring to when the Muslims are in war and they attack a place and they take people captive. And they find beautiful women that they've taken captive who are married. The Quran says those women, though they're married, because they are captives, they're lawful for you to have sex with, you can sell them. Are you okay with that?
So now you're talking about malakat al-yamin.
Yep.
And maghanim, which are like spoils, I guess.
Yes. So you okay with that?
We're talking about, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're talking about there's a battle, and when you've won the battle, there are simply no. So who engages in battle at the end of the day? It's men, right? It's not children or elderly or women who were out there on their horses or camels and swords fighting. It was men. So when and you, as you know, battling and wars and all this was the law of the land in the ancient Middle East, and you know this even in the pre-Islamic days. So if somebody wins a battle and there's no more men or a shortage of men and there's all these women, it's even in the Bible they used to they will go and they will marry the women, and they will take them and they will.
We're not talking about married women.
And so this is a common practice,
Jihad.
which goes back to
Azizi, Jihad. That wasn't what I said. We're not talking about taking women and marrying them who are not married. The Quran says that these women are still married. You can still have sex with them. The husbands are not dead. They're alive. And you don't have to marry them. You can have sex with them.
Okay, so it doesn't say, they're still alive. Don't go.
Did you read 424? Brother, in humanity, let me repeat what it says. Unlawful are married women except those whom your right hands possess. If they're not still married, you don't make an exception. And then the hadith says their husbands were still alive.
Let me look at this on the computer.
Go ahead. And the hadith says their husbands were still alive. Sunan Abu Dawud. I'll give you the hadith. You can read it.
So the right hand possessions are essentially when you have won a war, you have you have certain rights.
So you have rights to sleep with a married woman that you've taken captive?
No, I mean she's not married at that point.
The husband's still alive, the hadith says. She's there. He's there. It says it. Their husbands were still alive. Sunan Abu Dawud, number 2150. I'll give you the hadith.
Sunan Abu Dawud.
Abu Dawud.
Let me go to.
Let me get it for you. Hold on, I'll get it for you. It's Autats. If you put Autats, you'll find it. Here it is. You can read it for yourself. It says their husbands are still there, my friend. Hold on. Their husbands didn't go anywhere. There you go. So read it for us. It's right there.
I'll take a look at it. Okay. Occasion of the Battle of Hunayn, they met their enemy and fought with them. They defeated them and took them captive. Some of the companions of Apostle of Allah were reluctant to have relations with the female captives because of their pagan husbands.
So why didn't they want to have sex with them?
Because they knew their husbands prior to their death.
Where does it say that? So you added to that. It's stuck for Allah. Then if they're dead, they're not married. Where does it say
they were alive?
It just said it. They didn't want to have sex with them because of their husbands. If the husbands are dead, then there is no husbands for them to worry about. Let me give you another hadith.
Does it say that they're dead, that they're alive?
Yeah, we're reluctant to have intercourse with the female captive.
So, my friend.
Okay.
So first of all, this hadith doesn't support your argument, and it doesn't necessarily support mine either. But it doesn't say that their husbands were alive.
Read the Arabic for me, because I have this translation. There's two translations. It says, we're reluctant to have intercourse with the female captives in the presence of their husbands who are unbelievers. Now, you listen to your logic as you read the Arabic. Listen to what you're saying. If their husbands weren't alive, that means they're not married. There's nothing to worry about, right? Right? Because if the husbands are dead, then there's nothing to worry about. They're not married. They're not married. So why worry about their husbands who are dead and they're no longer married? That means they're not married. They're widows, so you can have them. Hello?
Well, these guys were, these were the enemies. These were the people who...
So it's okay for a Muslim, if he's doing jihad and he takes captive women who are married, to have sex with the woman, right? You're okay with that?
At that time, this is what was permitted.
And where do you find...
I said, if we go to so this is a descriptive. So if we go to the Bible, you will find the same thing.
No, you won't. Not here.
Me, we don't do it now.
No, the Bible doesn't teach this.
It now. This happened at that time.
The jihad, you're not listening. The Bible...
Why don't you apply the same...
I am, because you're not listening. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that the Israelites could take a married woman captive and have sex with her. The Bible actually does something better than the Quran. It says when you find a woman, you marry her and honor her. You can't touch a woman who's married. And if there's a woman captive who's single, you don't have sex with her. It says marry her and treat her as a wife and honor her. That's Deuteronomy 21.
What verse is that? I got
Deuteronomy 21.
Right here.
Deuteronomy 21. See, you're not listening, so I'm going to give it to you. Deuteronomy 21, 10 to 14. What do you mean what verse? Deuteronomy 21, 10 to 14. Okay, but You just said, I want to, here's where you confuse me. Can you show me where?
21.
10 to 14. Now listen to this point as you go there. Deuteronomy 21, 10 to 14. I'm sorry. Surah An-Nisa 424. Can you tell me where this does not apply to Muslims doing jihad today? If a Muslim does jihad and he attacks a place, you're telling me that verse is no longer applicable? So jihad is no longer applicable? Jihad is over with?
Yeah. I mean, well.
Really?
It's not, in this way, it's not prescribed.
So you're saying when the Muslims do jihad, they're going against the Quran because jihad is done with, even though the hadith say you will struggle in the way of Allah till the last day, even against the Jews, that the Jews will be hiding behind a stone and the stone will say, Ya Abdullah. You're honestly saying jihad is done with? That's it?
Well, it's complicated.
So when ICE entered Iraq, took Yazidi women and Christian women and Yahudi women and were raping them. Well, I won't say rape, sleeping with them. They were going against the Quran?
Well, you say there has to be a state.
What happens when you don't have an Islamic state and when you don't have a Khalif who's following Sharia, and then you have Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi claiming to be the Khalif and fighting the cause of Allah? Are you saying Quranically they're wrong? If so, where? Give me the hadith and the Quran says they're wrong.
Look. I'm not going to sit here and go into all that. Because
so are you okay then with a Muslim man taking a married woman captive? And I mean, better yet, you're okay with your prophet doing it? Were you okay with your prophet doing it?
It was something that they did back then.
And you're okay with your prophet doing it?
Prescribed.
So you're okay then? Huh? You're okay with your prophet, he did that. Married women having sex with them and then selling them off. You okay with it?
Look, if there were no more men after the war, then there had to be some men to take care of those women.
You mean the men, their husbands were still alive? They were not there? The husbands that they took captive, that was right there. So what do you mean there were no men? The husbands were there. Why not just give them to their husbands?
Because they were imprisoned.
Okay, so you're okay with it. Okay, now, are you okay also with your prophet? Because you said Islam, you brought this up.
But it's at that time. It's that time.
So when a Muslim does it today, then he's going against Islam, even though nowhere in the Quran hadith that says those commands for that time, not today. Even I'd like you, challenge you to show me where it says those commands were for then, not today. I'd love to see those, but you won't show it to me because the Quran hadith doesn't say that.
That's not in the Bible either.
You want to bet? Jesus came and established a new covenant. You want to bet? It's in the New Testament. You forgot the New Testament, huh? So let's.
Yeah, the abrogated book.
Oh, okay. But like the Quran abrogates itself, nasikh wa mansukh. So you have a problem with abrogation? Now let's come back to this issue. Let me ask this issue of you. Okay. Are you okay, because you said Islam teaches good, are you okay with your prophet marrying the divorced wife? Notice I said divorced wife. We're not going to get into whether he caused a divorce. Are you okay with your prophet marrying the divorced wife of his son-in-law?
Just to make my point clear about the previous subject. It was at that time, yes, but what you're saying, whatever's going on now in Iraq, no, it's not allowed because those guys were not acting in accordance with Islam.
All right, let's put them aside. Let's say you have now a khilafah, a legitimate khilafah, and a legitimate khalif, and the Muslims agree. Listen to what I'm saying. Legitimate. Let's assume he's legitimate. Everyone agrees. When you have a legitimate khalif, a khilafah, it's established legitimately, and then he orders jihad, will then it be okay for the Muslims like you, when you attack a place, to take married women captive and have sex with them today, if there's a legitimate caliphate?
If there's a legitimate caliphate, then there can be a war between nations because the caliphate is a nation, but that doesn't mean that certain things must be practiced.
No, I didn't say must. If you attack a place, a legitimate caliphate, and you take captive women, Can you have sex with them even if their husbands are alive, according to the Quran Hadith?
Okay, so that issue that you were talking about related to that time, but it's not something that it's like, okay, we must have sex with
No,
their
you're
husbands.
twisting
It's not
my
like
words,
a
Jihad.
commandment. It's not like a commandment as we must do
No,
that.
no,
It's
Jihad,
like,
you're twisting my words.
okay,
I didn't say you must.
occurred.
I didn't say you must.
Huh?
You're twisting my words. I didn't say you must. I'm saying if there is a legitimate caliphate, you have a legitimate caliph, a khalif, legitimate. It's according to Sharia. And he orders jihad against, let's say, America. You have captive women who are married and you want to have sex with them. I didn't say you must. I didn't say that. Can you have sex with them if they're your captives and their husbands are alive? Is that still okay if you want to do it?
If their husbands are alive, no.
Where does the Quran say if their husbands are alive? No. I just read to you, it says their husbands are alive, you can.
At that time was different. So at this time, we don't, it's not a commandment that you must do this.
Okay.
No.
All right. Okay. Let's talk about something else now, because you mentioned a good. Islam teaches good. So I'm just going with this. Okay. Let's talk about when Zayd ibn Haritha divorced Zaynab bint Jash. Okay. Muhammad married her. She was married to his adopted son. Are you okay? I want to know this. Be honest with me. Are you okay with Muhammad marrying the divorced wife of his adopted son? Because let me explain to you why I'm saying this. Because now you know that when she marries your prophet, she becomes one of the mothers of the believers, right? al-Mu'mineen. She's one of the mother of the believers. So now Zayd, who was her husband sleeping with her, must now look at her as his mother. Very awkward situation. Are you okay with that?
There doesn't appear to be any moral issue with that.
No moral issue with taking your one-time daughter-in-law to be your wife and have sex with her when your adopted son used to sleep with her and now he has to see her as his mother, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay.
Well, they were divorced.
Yeah, but okay. So you are my adopted son. You're married, and for all those years.
Real son.
Okay, let me give you an example. You are my adopted son. You're abandoned. I found you in an orphanage. I adopted you. I raised you as my son, and you know no other father. You got married to a woman. You divorced her. I marry her, and I have sex with her, and you'll be okay with looking at that woman who you slept with, whom you had children with. Now she's my wife. Now she becomes your stepmom. You're okay with that?
It's not morally objectionable. I mean, there could be emotions involved, obviously, amongst people, but it's not morally objectionable. It's like if you got a divorce with your wife, okay, and then your brother married her. It's like, yeah, there might be some.
That would be the most
involved.
disgusting thing my brother could do. It would be considered treachery. How dare you go and then marry my ex-wife?
Okay, but let's say there was no adultery ever. There was nothing like that, but the marriage was dissolved. And then later on down the line, your brother found that she was compatible with her, and they got married.
No sane.
You might not like it.
No sane.
There would be many people in Western society that say, "Hey, it's okay."
No sane, moral person, if he's sane and he's moral and he's God-fearing, would take his brother's ex-wife and marry her to bed if he's sane. Now, if he's a sick, demented pervert, a sicko, demonic bastard, yeah, people will do that all the time. Just like people sleep with their own children.
Well, that's a different category.
Okay, so you said you're okay with it. Now, are you okay then that after that happened, Muhammad abolished adoption, is saying, do not call them your sons anymore. Name them sons of after their fathers, because they are brothers in faith. So then he abolished adoption after that. You okay with that? Did he abolish adoption?
Yeah, he abolished adoption to avoid any sort of confusion about.
So you're okay with him abolishing adoption?
There people still practice adoption.
Not in Islam, you can't. Sharia, you can't. You can take in an orphan, but you can't treat him as your son, and he's not an heir. You can raise him, but he can't be your son, and he's not an heir. He doesn't inherit from you. So I'm asking you again, are you okay with your prophet?
Yeah, you can take care of him, but you don't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
You're okay with that?
You can take care of orphans, but you don't have to. I mean, if
So
he's
you're okay with
adopted, you don't have to give him as your biological children. No, but I mean, because he has a gift that you're taking care of him. Otherwise,
So-
his.
So you're okay
kids,
then?
You leave him with you.
Jihad, I'm only asking you, you okay then that your prophet abolished adoption?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, but here's my question. I have two questions. Didn't chapter 33, verse 37 of the Quran say, the reason why your prophet married Zainab, so that he can be an example for others to marry the divorced women of their adopted sons? What example was your prophet setting when he then abolished adoption afterwards? There would be no more adoption. So how's he setting an example? Look, I married my adopted son's divorced wife. You can too. Oh, but guess what? I abolished adoption. So me marrying my adopted son's ex-wife doesn't suit as an example for anyone, because from now on, there is no adoption.
No more adoption.
But then why did chapter 33, verse 37 said, the reason why your prophet married her was to be an example for others that they too could marry their adopted sons' divorced wives. Didn't Allah know he's going to abolish adoption? So why have Muhammad do it as an example?
That?
33, 37. Chapter 33, verse 37. Read it.
All right, I'm gonna
go read it for me. You want me to read it in English? I'll read it. But you can read it if you get there.
I got you, my friend. Just give me a reason. Give me a minute.
All right, I'm giving you a minute.
I'm not gonna stay on all night.
No, I know. Whenever you want to leave, you let me know. I just had these questions.
I'm trying to bring you to the light, my friend.
Don't worry. Jesus is shining his light in your heart, and it's a matter of time. You're going to fall in love with the true Jesus. But go ahead. 33, 37. Let me know when you're there. Read it. Why did Muhammad, your prophet, marry the divorced?
Okay, so I have to kind of hear it.
No, I know why you're trying to hear it. You think by us hearing the Quran, we're going to be enticed. Oh, wow, look at the beauty. Yeah, okay, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But go ahead, read it for me. Good one, though. You're smart, though, Jihad. You're very smart. I like that.
I'm doing the best I can.
Okay, just read the verse. Explain to me that. Reciting it doesn't tell me what it means. Can you explain the verse? It says that when Zayd had finished with her, we then married her to you so that this would serve an example for others that they could marry the
divorced women are allowed. I mean, okay.
Okay, but that wasn't my question, Jihad. You're not listening to my question.
Divorced women are halal.
But that wasn't my question, Jihad. Did you hear what my
Am I right or wrong, boss?
Okay. Can I
Mr. Student of the Quran, can you marry a divorced woman? Tell me.
Okay. No, on the Bible, you can't just marry divorced women. There has to be legitimate ground. But that, forget me. I didn't have a problem with your religion allowing divorced women to be married.
You're a student of the Quran. Okay, you know that divorced women are halal.
That's not my question. Right, but that's not my question, Jihad. Do you know what my question is?
Go ahead.
It says that the reason why your prophet married Zainab, it doesn't mention her name, so that others could marry the divorced wives of their adopted sons. There'll be no shame in the matter. Do you read that there? Doesn't it say that?
No, I got to read it.
Then read it, man. 33, 37. Read it.
Remember when you said to him, Zayd bin Harith, the freed slave, on whom Allah has bestowed grace by guiding him to Islam, and you, O Muhammad, have done favor by manumitting him. Keep your wife to yourself and fear Allah. So,
keep reading.
But you did hide in yourself, i.e. what Allah has already made known to you, that He will give her to you in marriage. No.
Keep reading,
this
man.
Is he tried to help her stay the marriage.
Okay, keep reading. You didn't finish.
This is English. They got brackets, you know.
Okay, forget the bracket. You want me to read it? I'll read it. Okay, I'll read it. I'll read it. What
Allah will make manifest. My friend.
Can I read it? The rest of the part
They
you're not
got divorced, and
Okay,
then
let me read the
they
rest
got
of it.
married.
Okay, now let me read the rest of it you didn't want to read. We joined her.
No. It says, whereas Allah had a better right that you should fear Him.
Okay, keep going.
Huh?
Yeah, keep going. You didn't finish it, man. Keep going. All right.
So
Can I read the
when
verse for
Zayd
you?
had
Because
accomplished his desire from
Yes.
her,
yes,
we gave her to you in marriage,
keep going.
so that there may be no difficulty to the believers in respect of the wives of their adopted sons. Okay,
Finish
my
it.
friend. What
Okay,
is
wait,
your
hold on.
difficulty here?
Okay, Jihad, let me finish because you're confused. Let me read it. So, in order that in future there may be no difficulty to the believers in the matter of marriage with the wives of their adopted sons, when the latter have dissolved the necessary formality with them. So, did you see why Muhammad married Zainab? So that other believers could then also marry the divorced wives of their adopted sons. But my question is, did your God not know that after this, Muhammad would abolish adoption? So that how could Muhammad be an example for others to follow when after this he stopped adoption? See the problem now? Okay, now, as you're thinking about that, I want to bring up another problem because your prophet's supposed to be...
I'll come back to that.
Okay, well, let me give you another problem, and if you need to go, it's fine.
They got divorced. My friend, they got divorced. So he married her, but it's not like, oh yeah, but
okay,
adoption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me give you the final problem.
People needed to be clear that,
okay,
you can marry a divorced woman because an adopted son is not a real son. It's just another guy.
Okay, let me go with that. Let me go with that. This was my second problem.
So he wanted to, the point needs to be made. Go ahead.
Yeah. The other problem. Now notice what you just said. Your prophet, your God, is supposed to be merciful. All right. You and I both know there are thousands, if not millions, of children in orphanages whose parents have died. And there are couples who can't have children because they're barren. All because of your prophet, these parents can't adopt these orphans and treat them as their own children. The only hope they have of having someone to call their child, their son and daughter, is through adoption. And these orphans, the only chance they have of having parents is someone adopting them. But thanks to your prophet, that will never be a reality. He destroyed it.
Here we go. Let's go.
You didn't even let me. Did you hear my objection or no?
I know where you're going with this.
Okay, so what did I say?
They can't have kids. They can't have. Okay. So they can take the kid. So the kid has no parents, right?
Can he call her mommy?
My heart goes out.
Can he say you're my mom?
My heart goes out to all orphans. No child ever asked to be in that situation.
So can that child say to that Muslim woman, "You are my mommy," and she said, "You are my son, sweetie"? Can the dad say, "My son, I love you," and then the orphans say, "You're my father, I love you, Baba"? Can they say that in Islam?
No.
Say it again.
They cannot.
Thank you. So, and yet you say Allah's merciful. Jesus puts Allah to shame. Thank you. That's all I wanted to hear. No.
So my friend, let me give you an example. If a child loses his parents in a car accident, and his godparents, maybe his aunt and his uncle, they take him. Does he go and start saying, "Oh, mom and dad"?
Yes.
No, he says.
No, actually, yes. I know a true story. I know a true story. My friend who led me to Jesus, his mother died when he was young. He called his grandmother Mama. All his life, he called her Mama. Yes.
Okay, my friend, this is so ridiculous. This conversation.
Yeah, do you want to come back some other time? Then we'll talk about other issues.